Cherish loves, welcome to Entrepreneurship Now, the podcast for purpose based entrepreneurs and businesses to come and learn how to attract your ideal clients, build better relationships with your audience, and convert. Today, I am so excited because I have an incredible young man who has built a business from scratch, from a passion. He has been so successful with this business within his time, and it's on the creative side. So, I have Donald Kimble here. Hi, Donald.
LaShay, how's it going?
It is going. How are you?
No, actually.
Why don't you tell our audience a little bit more about what you do?
Hey, everybody. My name is Donald Kimble Jr., and I represent Donald Jr. Productions. A company actually started from scratch a little over 2 years ago now. And it was because of the Houston Millennials, actually, because I was at an event and a photographer took my picture, and I was like, I could do better. And the rest is history. And so it's launched my business, and it's been great.
And you know what? One of the things that I absolutely love about you is that you saw a problem and you decided to be the solution. And I think that is so incredibly powerful. I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, they find themselves falling into chasing trends and what is the popular thing now. But you have been able to create a very successful business without having this extensive background in the industry. So, tell the audience a little bit more about that journey because I know the story, but the audience needs to hear the story. So go ahead and tell them about how you actually started.
Absolutely. And it's interesting being on the guest side of a podcast because I actually started it with my own podcast also. And it was called Lit Live. You can still find it on YouTube if you want to. And it's about financial literacy. And I remember one guest specifically, her camera shot was better than mine, the host. And I was like, how did she do that? And I asked her after the show, she's like, oh, my husband's a photographer. He's the one that set up my camera. And I spent like months racking my brain trying to find out how did she get that one shot? I was trying to adjust the lighting, trying to adjust the background to no avail. And then I discovered it was the actual camera itself. It was the lens that she was using on the camera that made it phenomenal. And so that's when I started to invest in better equipment. And then that's when I started getting better shots myself. And I was like, what else can I do with this? And so it started from there and then went to the Houston Millennials. I was like, I could do better than this. And then all of a sudden I have a full blown business. And I never intended it to be my full time job because full time I do supplemental coverage. So I always thought it was going to be on the side, but it's taken off so much that it's actually kind of overlapping my insurance business. So it's a blessing in disguise, right?
Right. New as you grow and develop, that's one of the greatest things about it is that you develop new problems. And that's an incredible problem to have. The fact that your second business is now competing with your first. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because a lot of times I hear from people that they really want to quit this 9 to 5 struggle. They are tired of punching in and out a clock and they want to do their own thing. And I always advise people the best time to start your business is when you're already collecting the paycheck because that allows you to make the decisions that are truly best for your business and that will really create alignment in your business as opposed to decisions based off of that bill that's due. Right. So I absolutely love that. And one thing about you, you didn't just say, oh, I can do better. I'm just going to get a camera and we're just going to hope for the best. You actually invested. You invested into your equipment. You invested into education. Tell the audience a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first camera, my stepdad actually let me use his camera and the quality wasn't there. And I was like, I gotta bite the bullet. Went to Best Buy. I bought the bottom of the line mirrorless camera, which I still have, and I use it as a backup currently. So it's the Canon RP, and I was just like, okay, cool. My video quality exponentially went up after using it. And then also, to your point, investing in courses. Like the fastest way to get somewhere is through mentors. Like if you want to try to figure out on your own, you're going to have a lot of bumps and bruises that are unnecessary when you could just learn from somebody else that's already been through the bumps and bruises. And so I actually bought a course online and it was nice because the first month was free. I was like, ooh, let me devour as much content as I can during that first month. And the content was so good and there was so much more content on there that I wasn't able to do within a month period. So I ended up subscribing to his service. And I absolutely loved it. And it's definitely, it taught me from everything from the foundation of like how to use the camera, how to use the manual settings, how to do the lighting, how to use flash. It had every little topic you could think of when it comes to photography. And it also talked about the business side of it too. So everything from like how do you generate clients, like how do you send the clients their pictures, to how do you edit the pictures? Because when it comes to the top tier photographers, it's not just the front end of actually taking the picture, but it's also the back end of editing. And those are the best photographers I know personally. And I think that's what helps me stick out in the market too, is the editing side.
I think it's the whole system that helps you to stand out because everything you do is very intentional, right? Every single time you show up to an event, every single time you work with the client, and you're very mindful of the entire user process. And I think that's phenomenal. So kudos to you for that, for actually investing in your business in that way. You mentioned about, there being some of the highs, some of the lows. Tell me a little bit more about that. So when it comes to this new business venture, what did you find to be the most difficult?
And the thing about photography is the inconsistency of it. Like some months you'll have like really, really good months and you're like, okay, I could really do this. And then the next month is like, where's everybody? Where's my clients? And it seems like, especially during the summertime, it kind of dries up a little bit because everybody's traveling, they're on vacation, they're not having as many events, they're not having as many celebrations. And so it's just like, how do you weather those storms? And that's the nice part about my situation is since I do still have my full-time job, like it's no big deal. It's just like, okay, I'm just going to concentrate on the insurance business during the summer months. And then people are already booking me for October, November, and December. And I know those are going to be phenomenal months as far as the photography is concerned, but it's just different seasons and every business has a season and just learning how to anticipate those seasons and pre-planning for it. You know, you're going to have good months in February, March, and April. Like set aside some of that money for the lean months, like during the summer and then when it picks back up. But most people are like, oh, it's a good month. Let me go splurge. Let me go buy all this stuff, buy all this equipment. And then all of a sudden during the summer months, you're like, wait, things are a little bit tighter. And so just anticipating the different seasons is huge.
But that's really powerful insight, though, because often people get into business with the expectation that I saw this person, they're successful. I want to do it. I'm just going to do it, right? And they haven't done the research into the market to find out are there aspects of the business that may be seasonal, right? Because anytime you start a business, you want to give yourself your best chance of success. So starting a photography business in the middle of July might not be the best idea, right? Not, and if you were to do that and you see that you are having difficulties with getting clients, it doesn't mean that photography is not for you, right? It just simply means that this was not the time or the season for that venture to really take off in that way, or that you need to be more creative about the ways in which you fund yourself during those times or where your business actually comes from. So I'm really glad that you brought that up because it is a thing. A lot of times people think of seasonality with businesses and they think about the holidays and being prepared for those boosts, but no one wants to talk about the seasonality of when things are really slow. It happens. Sometimes it's even on a monthly basis, right? Like you can be really, 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 really busy in the beginning of the month. And then at the end of the month, things kind of free up a little bit. So it's really important to be conscious about your business and know its trends of when your audience is most active, when your clients are most active and when they're not, and plan accordingly. So I'm glad that you actually brought that up for our audience. And then you mentioned about attracting your ideal audience within that, even in the slow times. Tell us a little bit more about some techniques that you use.
So for me personally, one of my biggest marketing tactics is actually by giving and being generous with my time and with my talent. So one of the things I do specifically for Houston Millennials is like I volunteer my photography for them. And I've been doing that since I started my business. And it's paid dividends for me, honestly, on the back end. Like people at the event, they're like, hey, I got a birthday party coming up, or I have this event coming up. And then who's the first person they think of? And so they come to me and I've had so many gigs outside of Houston Millennials, and a lot of it, I think, LaShay, because she's the one that actually invited me to be the volunteer photographer for one of the events. It was a general meeting. It was 2 years ago. Can you believe it's been that long?
I know.
And I've stuck and stay and make it pay. One of the things that's big is consistency, right? Like I've seen so many photographers come and go, come and go, come and go. And guess what? Everybody in Houston Millennials knows their name. Like they don't know how to found them. They don't know anything. But guess who? They always see their logo on the Instagram posts. Guess who's always showing up at the events? Guess who they approach at the event? They're like, hey, I always see your work. I love your work. Hey, let's work together outside of this. And I love that. Like I have so many things in the pipeline currently because of Houston Millennials. I'm just like, this is awesome. But just being not stingy with your time and your talent. Like sometimes you have to give to get, right? And I know it sounds backwards, but it's a biblical principle because you reap what you sow, right? If you're sowing into other people, then you're gonna reap. And even if it's not from that specific person, like I think God is bigger than that situation. Like you might be given in one area and God might bless you in other areas because of your heart of giving and serving and truly giving with a genuine heart. And people could tell you're being genuine, they enjoy your presence, then God will bless you. Like it's just a biblical principle.
It
God will,
is, it is,
God will
and
not be
I'm
not.
excited. I'm excited. As soon as you say biblical principle about it, I'm like, "Yes, thank you." It's true, it's true. So often I have students who come to me or sometimes even just friends because I do a lot of networking as well, and people will come to me and they're struggling in areas of their business, and they are so surprised when I tell them that, the advice that I just gave you is based off of things I learned in the Bible. Like every time I come across a really good book that is talking about self-healing or it's talking about business principles, I am amazed at how much of it is actually based off of the biblical word, but they didn't give him credit for the work that he did. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. And I am right along with you. I am a firm believer that you have to build your business off of a spirit of giving, off of a spirit of solving real problems that real people have. And when you do that, you do not have to sell. When you first start off by identifying who you enjoy working with and what their biggest problem is, and you make it your mission to bridge that gap to help your audience to overcome that hurdle, you're not going to have to go out and find your people. Your people are going to come to you. You just have to do the work and make sure your message gets out there. And that's where networking, as Darnold has said, comes into play. And I thank you for the appreciation on inviting you in. But a big part of that was because of your professionalism, right? So having that reputation of being someone who does follow through, who is professional, you can't receive those opportunities if you don't put yourself in the room. And Donald and I actually were in a mastermind together, and he showed up in the mastermind so incredibly professional that I wasn't quite satisfied with the photography experience that we were having. He was, of course, the person that I thought about, right? So he never had to sell me on services. He never had to come to me and say, "Hey, LaShay, let me know if you got anything for me." It was his whole presence and the work ethic that he had that led me to bring that opportunity to him. And going further into that networking, I mean, networking is not just for real estate. Networking is not just for other people. It's for you. If you're watching this podcast, every single person should be out networking and expanding their network. You never know what opportunity is going to be out there. You really have absolutely no idea until you show up in the room, and you can't show up in the room with the mindset of, okay, where the money at? What's in this for me? Who's gonna have a client for him? You can't show up with that mentality. You have to be truly present in the moment and open to what God has for you. I 1000% promise you that God's plan is always going to be bigger than anything you could ever even imagine. So you just need to show up and be the best you that you absolutely can. So Darnold, you're dropping gems today. I love it.
When I share a testimonial of that too,
Yeah.
one of the things we did at the beginning here, like I have a heart for veterans because obviously we wouldn't have this nation if it wasn't for our veterans. And so I got approached with the opportunity to do a fashion show with veterans. And it was a unique concept. And so she wanted me to be the media coordinator, right? To get all the photographers together, all the videographers, set up the red carpet, make sure all the lighting was good. And so, and it was completely volunteer. She's like, "You're not going to get paid for this." I'm like, "Okay." I truly, truly, truly was doing it for the veterans because like our veterans are so underappreciated and like literally they laid their lives on the line for us. And it's like we wouldn't have this nation if it wasn't for them. And so I just wanted to show it as a way of appreciation to them. And the fashion show went off really well. Like they really loved it, which is great. But at the fashion show, the host actually brought in a guest. He was a singer from California, and he wanted some backup singers for his performance at the fashion show. And so during one of the rehearsals, we actually went to a club or it was a bar like after the fashion show rehearsal. And I ended up meeting the dancers. And guess what? The dancers like, "Oh, you're a videographer?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "We're actually about to put these courses together and we need somebody to come and film the courses." I was like,
Oh, wow.
okay, not knowing what that meant. 16 hours of recording later. And like months and months and months of editing later, they end up being one of my biggest clients ever. So like I literally that wasn't even on the radar at all. But because I literally just had a heart to serve and a heart to give back to the veterans, like all these opportunities and doors open. And to take it one step further, the dancer himself actually ended up being on my interest team now. So I'm currently training him to sell interest. So it's just like all that because I was willing to say yes, let me serve, let me help, let me give, and I had no idea any of
God
this
will
was.
fill in the rest. He will absolutely fill in the rest. That just warmed my heart so much because people need to realize these opportunities don't just happen, right? Because people are lucky. They happen because A, you showed up, right? And then B, you showed up with the genuine heart. People can smell desperation on a desperate person. So if you show up with, "I need this client. I need this client. I need to get somebody in here to buy my thing, buy my thing." People, how do you feel when that happens to you? Right? No one likes that. No one likes that person. No one wants to talk to that person. That person is never invited anywhere because it's annoying. No one wants that. But when you show up, when you first, because showing up, that's an act of obedience. That's you being obedient to God calling you to expand his kingdom. So when you're obedient to that and you show up and you show up with the purpose of truly helping, that like you could not have written a better business opportunity if you tried with that scenario, right? I'm pretty sure you did not go in that room and even fathom that that would be an opportunity. That wasn't even a service that you had even planned on offering, but God knew you had the abilities. And as long as you were obedient to his calling, he blessed you with that. And I think that is so incredible. And I thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, that is just absolutely amazing. God is out here making so many incredible dreams possible. And your business has really taken off in just a matter of 2 years. I know that you have had experience being able to travel due to your photography. You've had clients on every end of the spectrum. So many blessings, so many great things going on. Tell me, what is the thing you enjoy the most?
Yeah, I actually love people's reactions when they see the pictures. Just to see them. So just recently I did a photo shoot and it was 5 generations of women that are still alive. So the oldest one is 99. She just turned 99 a couple months ago. And then the youngest is like 12 years old. And so just to be able to do that photo shoot for them and capture the moment, because obviously she's 99, she's not going to be here forever. And so they actually give her her roses while she's still alive and capture the moment while she's still alive. It was awesome. And like literally she was bedridden. So we literally went to her house, went to her bedroom and did the whole photo shoot in the bedroom. And so I sat down with them post photo shoot and went through some of the pictures and like just to see the reaction and the tears that they have and the love that they have for their family. That was priceless. And so they're ordering physical prints to be able to print these pictures out to put on their walls. And that's a memory that it's going to be priceless for them. Like I tell people like what they spend at $1,500 to $2,000 on a big screen TV. But guess what? That TV is going to break eventually. It's going to break and you're gonna have to buy a new TV eventually. Like artwork is something that's gonna be priceless for generations. Like it's never gonna break. The only thing bad is if it was in a fire or something. But and all that to say is I'm really, really big on having physical artwork too. Because my mom, apparently I left a lot of my stuff at her house when I left for college. And I got settled back in Houston, and she's like, "Hey, you still got a lot of stuff at my
I
house.
was
I'm gonna
saying, isn't
pack
it
it up."
funny how moms do that? The second that you graduate, they're like, by the way, get your crap.
You know? She's like, "I'm gonna pack it up for you," and literally dropped it off on my doorstep.
Yeah.
And I was going through a lot of my older things, and I had like a lot of toys and trophies and things like that. But the most thing that was the most meaningful with me, and I have it sitting right here in front of me, is a picture of my late grandfather.
Mm.
He was 96 years old when he passed away, and literally, we cannot get that picture ever again. If
That
there was a fire, I don't care about my electronics. I don't care about anything else. I'm grabbing that picture.
That is very true. That is definitely very true. It's captured time, and time, like you said, is something that you can never get back once that moment has passed. But pictures allow us to remember those moments. My family talks about me because I keep everything, right? Like I went through some stuff, and I promise you, you guys, I found a check stub for my very first job. We're talking way back at 15, working at McDonald's. Okay. I keep stuff. I keep everything, but the most vital thing for me are the things that are the memory. So when my grandmother passed, I was grabbing the cookbooks and I was grabbing all the pictures. And now I go through those pictures and it's amazing what you forget, like how faulty your memory is. So my grandmother had this dog. This is a side note. My grandmother had this dog, Duchess. I love Duchess. I remember playing with Duchess as a child. I remember Duchess being the biggest fluffy white husky you ever did see. And I'm going through my old pictures and I'm like maybe 4 or 5 and I'm holding this dog. And I asked my mom, I'm like, Mom, who's this dog? Like whose dog was this? And she's like, that's Duchess. And I'm like, wait, that's a German Shepherd. What do you mean? Me. She's like, yes, girl, I used to play with that dog all the time. And I'm like, that's crazy. Because in my memory, I just knew I remember coming in being covered in white hair. And now that we actually do have a German Shepherd at the house, yeah, those things shed. They shed like it ain't nobody's tomorrow. But it's just insane how like my memory of that, like I thought was so solidified because it was such a joyous memory and it was wrong. It was so wrong. So I love that you're putting so much effort and intention into helping people to capture those moments. And I would agree with you that it is important for people to invest like we do in everything else into capturing a moment at its highest quality, because I mean, that's something that's truly priceless. And I love that you offer the physical, but also the digital. Like that's the benefit to us being in this age, that you do have some level of ability to recapture things because you can have a digital copy of it. So I think that's really, really good. And I love that you always stay up to date on the latest trends, technologies, and techniques. So share with our audience a little bit about some of the best things that you found that are out there right now for people in this creative space.
So, as far as the business aspect, or
Both. Tell me about the photography as well as the business.
okay, so I just made a major investment into a new lens, and I'm not going to say how much I spent on it, but that helps with the technique, right? So that's why when you see my pictures, they stand out from other photographers, is because honestly, my camera costs less than the lens itself. Like if you
Mm.
get into photography, invest in the lens because the lens is going to make the difference between what you see with the camera phone or with any other type of like a snap and shoot type camera. And so it's just like if you have a high quality lens, then it's gonna really, really pop. And I used this lens for the first time like within the past couple weeks. And just to see the pictures it came out with, I'm blown away. I'm like, what? What just happened? So it makes a difference. As far as the business side, it's just we're in the people business. Like to your point, we're designed to solve problems, right? And always, even with sales, like I tell people, people are paid in direct correlation to the problem they solve. For instance, like a janitor, they typically make minimum wage. Why? Because anybody could wipe down a table, anybody could sweep a floor, anybody could wash a window, right? So anybody could do it. So typically they make minimum wage. But a brain surgeon, what they have to go to college a god awful long time, and then they have to be super intelligent to be able to retain that information. And then to be a surgeon, you have to have a very, very steady hand. And not many people have that ability to do that. So that's why they literally get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year versus minimum wage, like a janitor. And there's a direct correlation based on the problem you solve. And one of the things that always baffled me is like teachers are probably one of the most valuable occupation in our society. Like I have mad respect for all teachers and everything they do for our society. And relatively speaking, compared to like a football player, NFL football player, MLB player, they get paid chump change, right? And I always wondered that. I was like, aren't teachers way more valuable? Our society would have zero occupation without them. Like nobody would know how to read, write, do arithmetic, anything. And so, but I figured it out because my degree is actually marketing, and marketing is everything in business. Marketing is everything. So basically, what I learned is the reason football players are paid as well as they are is because it's all about eyeballs, right? So people love watching the NFL. They love watching baseball. They love watching hockey. So marketers like corporations, major corporations like Coca-Cola and all the major corporations, they want to get as many eyeballs as they can on their product. And so these networks are able to charge exorbitant amounts of money for ads. Like I know it wasn't this past Super Bowl, but I think the Super Bowl before, Kanye West paid like $7 million for a Super Bowl ad that he literally recorded with his phone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that sounds like a lot, but no, he actually made $14 million off of that one ad. Do you think it was worth that $7 million he paid for that?
Right.
Yeah. And so that's how these NFL players are able to make so much is because they're able to attract eyeballs. And that's my one principle for any business owner. It's all about eyeballs. Like we don't run our podcast just to run our podcast. We want eyeballs too, right? And so the more eyeballs we could get, it's like, oh, last point. So I highly, highly recommend the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And he made one very strategic point in the book. He was talking about how like he met another author, and that author was phenomenal writer. Like she had all this flowery language, and it was amazing. But she didn't sell as many books as he did, as Robert Kiyosaki did. And she was baffled. She was like, Robert, your book is basic. Literally, an elementary kid could have wrote this book. Robert took the book and he says, what does it say on the top of this book? And it said best-selling author. Best-selling author. It's like, okay, yeah, you're a better author, but guess what? I'm a
I'm
better
the best.
seller. I'm a better marketer than you.
Right.
And that's for any business. It's all about eyeballs. If you could get more eyeballs on your product or your service, if you could serve more people, your income is directly correlated to the amount of people you serve.
Yes. Yes, I love that. It's like you've been in one of my classes. That was perfect. Well worded. I absolutely love it. Yes, attraction is so important. The more that you are able to attract those eyeballs, the more successful you are going to be. It doesn't matter what business you are in. So thank you so much for highlighting that point. But I know there are some people out there who are struggling, right? They are having a difficult time. So what advice do you have for those who may be going through that difficult season in their business?
If you're going through hell, keep going. It's all about consistency. So I have a couple of ideas. So there's a pamphlet called The Common Denominator of Success. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I have it.
Highly, highly, highly recommend it.
Okay.
So if I could run part of it for you, it says people form the habit of doing the things that unsuccessful people don't like to do. Let me repeat that. Successful people form the habit of doing the things unsuccessful people don't like to do. It's not that successful people like to do them, but they do it anyways. And that's the reason there's so many failures in our society. There's so many failures in any aspect, whether it comes to education or to business or to relationships or anything, is because there's things in all those aspects that people don't like to do. And guess
Right.
what? They don't do them.
Right.
And so if you want to be successful, it's simple. Figure out what you don't like to do and do that.
Yeah.
And now don't do it just one time. The keyword is habit. You got to
Yeah.
do it over and
Habit.
over and over and over. And especially in business, people don't like rejection. Like rejection, people take it personally. They think they're rejecting you. And the reality is they're not. If they took about an hour out and hung out with you for lunch or dinner or whatnot, do you think they're going to love you? yes or yes. Yes, they're gonna love you. So they're not rejecting you, but people take that rejection personally. So people that are successful in business, guess what? They get rejected and they go keep going. They get rejected again, keep going. They get rejected again. I love the phrase, success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm.
Powerful. I love that.
So if you took that past rejection and you take it into your future interaction, you're not going to be your 100% authentic self. You still
I
focus on the
swear,
past.
Donald, you showed
Gotta
up and showed out today. This has been such a powerful, real, inspirational, transparent conversation. I thank you so much for joining me here and sharing and dropping these gems with my audience. I know you guys took more than a couple things if you're anything like me, because I definitely am feeling motivated from this conversation. And I will make sure to include all of Darnold and his contact information in the show notes so you guys can reach out to him directly. We will make sure that the audio and visual version of this interview is available for you guys. I am your host, LaShay LaRue. Until next time, bye, my cherished loves.